There is also a really good Maher and Maté and Michael Isikoff.
Look, going back to Guccifer 2.0, I don't want to get into a debate about it, but since you asserted as fact, I want to just state a couple of things. First of all, even the Mueller investigation, I've written about this extensively. Even the Mueller investigation acknowledged that they don't know who gave the stolen files to WikiLeaks. That's in the Mueller report. They have. I'm going to quote you the line.
I don't know. Maybe we're reading a different report.
The office cannot rule out that stolen documents were transferred to WikiLeaks through intermediaries who visited during the summer of 2016. That's them acknowledging that they don't actually know.
Do you have the passage where they quote the encrypted file email from Guccifer 2.0 to WikiLeaks? Do you
Michael,
have that?
Listen, I've written about this. I've written about this a lot.
You have that?
I will find it. I will find it. Sure. I mean, but what I will guarantee you, what I will guarantee you though, is they don't even assert that file contained the DNC emails. They suggest it, which was par for the course throughout the Mueller investigation, suggesting explosive conclusions they don't have concrete evidence for, and that's the case here.
Do you have the email passage where Assange writes to Guccifer 2.0 a few days earlier asking for material about Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, that he did.
So he can publish it on the eve of the Democratic convention.
Yes, he did, but there's no confirmation, and no one's ever asserted that request to Guccifer 2.0 resulted in Guccifer 2.0 giving Assange the stolen emails that are at the heart of this. And think about it. Look, Mueller's timeline makes no sense. Assange, we all know when he announced in early June that he has leaks coming up about Hillary Clinton.
Assange reaching out. Why, if he had the stuff, why did he need to reach out to
Guccifer more.
2.0? Yeah, he wanted more.
Guccifer was
so maybe he didn't have very much to begin with.
No, he had already said he had some really important. He had teased it already.
What were they?
He said we have
what
some.
Were they?
Or in early June.
Why?
He had teased it out. He said we have some really important leaks coming up on Hillary Clinton. He already teased it before Guccifer came along. And then Guccifer came along and he takes credit and he releases some stuff to the public on his blog that's not that interesting. It looks to me like he's someone who's trying to make it look as if he's Julian Assange's source, but he actually isn't. And that coincides, Michael, by the way, and this is a whole long thing, but I just can't believe it's still taken as fact that Russia did this and gave it to WikiLeaks when we also know that CrowdStrike, the firm that generated this allegation.
Oh, that is such a red herring.
That
is such nonsense. Who cares about CrowdStrike? The U.S. intelligence community, the FBI, the congressional committees didn't rely on CrowdStrike to reach its conclusion.
You don't know that.
It had, well, we know pretty well. I'm sorry, those friggin' emails to me are case closed.
Oh, Matt, can you just explain in 20 seconds, what CrowdStrike is for people watching who may not be steeped in this?
Yeah, so CrowdStrike is the cybersecurity firm that the DNC hired when they found out that they'd been compromised in two different ways. One, by a phishing attack that John Podesta fell for, and another sort of more serious incident. There was allegedly a hack of a bunch of emails involving the DNC.
Yeah, and he's saying it's irrelevant, which I don't really get why, but
yeah, because CrowdStrike, the FBI they relied entirely on the conclusions of CrowdStrike and on data given to them by CrowdStrike,
right,
and coming to their conclusions.
WikiLeaks never sits on material. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material, and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
That was really shameful on Julian Assange's part. And, he should be called to, account for that. Why did you go down that trail if you weren't trying to cover for somebody? That to me is, at a trial, I would throw that in there. You were trying to cover for the fact that you got this from Guccifer 2.0.
That's a weird allegation,
weren't you?
Claim.
But anyway,
but the point is, again, he's denied that he got it from Russia. So we don't know who we got it from.
Yeah, well, listen,
we don't.
If we can stop for a second. I'm going to agree with Isikoff a little bit here, which is if Julian Assange is not saying that Sethridge is his source, and he shouldn't, right? Like, you shouldn't reveal your sources. You shouldn't do what he did. Like, he's implying it, and he's trying to have his
both
cake
ways.
And eat it too.
Yeah.
I understand. Like, theoretically, if he was the source, which I don't tend to believe, but let's just say theoretically he was. You could understand the motivation to want that out there, so that you could say our source was murdered, right? But you just don't do that. Like, you don't imply it. You don't like wink at the camera and say, well, I can't tell you that he's the source, but blah, blah, blah.
You can't do that and say, I don't reveal my sources. And then
exactly.
Right. That was kind of off brand for Assange, isn't it? Who's usually more careful about that?
Yes, the whole thing was off brand. Yeah. For sure. I mean, it was an unusual situation. The whole thing was unusual.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure I think that's these are some of the enduring mysteries of this whole thing. But this is the frustration. What Aaron's dealing with Michael, and he's doing a better job with Michael than I did with Bill Maher. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like you come back with, well, this, and this, right? And they go, oh, come on, Right?
Yeah,
and there's no answer for that. Like,
hello, thank you so much for listening to and watching Useful Idiots. For full episodes and extended interviews, please subscribe at usefulidiots.substack.com. You can subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/usefulidiots for clips, live streams, and full episodes. Also, subscribe to us wherever you find your podcast. Follow us on Twitter at UsefulIdiotPod and use the hashtag UsefulIdiotsPod. Join us Mondays at 10 a.m. for the Useful Idiots Monday Morning Show, where we discuss the Sunday morning news shows so you don't have to watch them.